Good afternoon to you and welcome to our continued coverage of today's protests and the efforts to restore and retain order and security in the country, in different parts of the country where there are protests, and some of them have turned violent. And we've seen some a number of places in different parts of the country where we have some fires that have been lit on the roads. We've seen boulders or rocks and big stones being put on the roads. We've also seen a number of arrests happening in different parts of the country as well. On the other hand, we've also seen cases and incidents where we have seen people who have chosen not to go forward with their protests, and some have decided to just hold peaceful protest, so to speak, but not everywhere we don't have the peaceful protest being experienced everywhere. My name is Dan Mwangi, and in studio to give more context into this, to have some good conversation as we proceed with the coverage, we have Jim India, who is a political and current affairs commentator or analyst, as well as Ken Ogembo, who's a program manager at Siasa Place, and we shall be touching base with them in regards to what's happening today. Some of the things that we've seen here in Nairobi, for instance, we've seen a gentleman who claims to be a journalist who was arrested, and he explained to Ibrahim Karanja just in the CBD how he was arrested despite, according to him, showing his media card, his press card, which is accreditation and gives viability of his claims because it's issued by the Media Council of Kenya. Aside from that, we've seen another gentleman who has been arrested, and he was part dragged along the road to the point by the time he was being gotten into the police truck, the police lorry, he was only in shorts. And so that again brings a question on human rights in regards to the form of arrest and whether it was warranted or otherwise. And we shall also be looking at different counties where we have, for instance, in the county of Nyeri, they were meant to be having a silent protest where they said they were not going to do much, so to speak, and they actually decided to stand down. Some of them claim that they are going by what the Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, advised them. And so we shall be seeing whether we can pick up some commentary on that end from Margaret Kimathi, as well as the different people. We have different team members who are on the ground in different counties, such as Lois Wangoi, who will also be giving us an update from Eldoret, which is the President's home. It's in the President's home county of Uasin Gishu, and we have a lot more, even in Nairobi with Melita Oletenges and Brian Moshiri, as well as others, so we shall be picking up on the same. And interestingly, if you're in the CBD like we are, you have potentially experienced all within the past hour or two, you've experienced the blasts from the tear gas canisters being fired. And unfortunately, we've had some tear gas canisters being fired towards Nation Center, and so the security team had to shut the doors, the main doors at Nation Center, just to ensure that there is safety on the same. And we shall be having a lot more to update you on because they're having protests in different counties, including Makueni, Kisumu, and the likes. And we shall be giving you updates where we have live pictures. We shall definitely bring them to you as we go along. So, gentlemen, welcome to this discussion. Let me just begin with you, Ken. What's your reading, first of all, of the events that are happening right now, as you can see some live on the screen?
Thank you. I think the first thing that we need to acknowledge as a country is what young people are doing is the right thing, and that is the assurance that they must have, because it's a constitutional right and it is something that is guaranteed. One of the major issues that we need to understand as a country, that rights are not donated or are not given by certain people, and at any given moment when people have a right, that right has to be exercised. In my observation on how this thing has been happening is you can see a reflection of very peaceful young people who are organizing themselves and doing amazing work until now the police come and start interfering with them. A typical example is just when I was coming in here, where nobody carried anything, any weapon, and the police just throw tear gas at us. People are standing, some of the people who are there are actually, you could see they have staff of the Nation Media, they have the card. Yeah. You are next to your doorstep and the police just throw in tear gas. What does it mean? It really means that these people does not mean well. First, second, they need to declare the intention for which they are on the street, because if there was any movement, then we could have said typically, okay, there's a problem. Nobody has complained, but we can see them now probably triggering and just interfering with people. So two major things that I would say is, number one, the police need to respect the Constitution. And number two, they need to respect the public, because there is no way you can insult and abuse the powers that you have. And then number three, why do you tear gas people? We don't know. Some people might even have underlying conditions. Then now you just tear gas them. They did nothing. Are we being punished for being Kenyans? It's a wrong thing. So,
but there has been the argument that some of those who have come as protesters are actually engaging in gunnery, we may call it that.
Okay, I think we need to put a context into this to help us understand. Pursuant to Article 37, which is a right, the first thing they say is people need to inform the police. The reason why you inform the police is so that the police can protect lives and property. So their presence should be to protect lives and property. That is number one. Number two, if they are selling narratives that some of them are goons, it is them, those people need to be arrested, taken to court, and the court can prove them as either goons or otherwise. You know, you can't just walk in the street and I look at you and you look like a thief, you look like a burglar, and then we just say now we either shoot you. The reason for which the Kenyans said we are not even asking for permission to protest is because we knew in the past that police and government used the same kind of tactics and narratives, selling wrong narratives that, oh, you look like a thief, then you are just arrested, some people are just killed. It is unconstitutional. So it is a right for people to protest. By the fact that the police was already informed that people are going to be on the street, it was in their own right supposed to just organize themselves and know how they're going to protect life and property.
Okay.
Can they produce any person that they arrested while destroying any property? And then they say, we arrested this person because this person was destroying property or lives. We will agree with them on that. Any other thing, those are statements of justification for wrongdoing.
Okay. Jim?
I think today the police are showing off. They seem to be having a field day out there on the streets than they have in the last couple of days. They seem to be ruling the streets. They seem to have more space to move by. I think going by the size of the protesters. But a few things have to be understood. That at the end of the day, we went out on the streets to reject the finance bill. Yesterday, the president wrote to the speaker of his intentions to return the bill back to parliament with the recommendation that they amend all the clauses by rejecting all the clauses. And so by most of our understanding is that then the reject finance bill protests seem to be a success, or the success seems to be near. What is not clear, or rather what is clear today, is that the people out on the streets today have a different agenda. And what I have had for the few minutes I've patrolled the streets is Ruto must go. And that is a very different protest from what we were part of. That is a very different protest from why we initially went out on the streets. So just to say that these are equally protesters who have their right. If they want the president to go, they have the right to say so, as well as letting us know through which means, how do they want the president to go, which article of the Constitution are they invoking, how do they want that to happen. It is also not clear if they notified the police, if a notification was given. And I wish that the Inspector General of Police would come out and let us know if he received any notification of protest happening today and who gave that notification. So I think what is happening is police today trying to maintain law and order. The police today trying to go out on the streets and assure Kenyans, because as you can see, businesses have been closed. Most people are not in the CBD. Driving in, you could see it's almost a police state. So maintaining law and order, returning calm, telling people that we have our city back, the president heed your call, the finance bill has been rejected, you can go back to your normal lives, as we now chat a way forward on how do we either implement the last finance bill or how do we draft a new one, whatever comes up.
Okay, and something that, gentlemen, we are seeing is a divided youth voice right now. On the larger scope of things, before yesterday, we had a pretty similar voice being spoken across the country, really, by the different youth who are saying, reject the finance bill, or the whole chant and call for reject, not amend. But today it's a different story. And you see how there are those who are saying, let's stop the protest for today, let's not go on with the plan for, according to the 7 days of rage, today was meant to be Occupy State House, right? Yes. Then there are those who are saying, the president did what we were asking for, so let's hold up and see what's happening. So they said, let's not go and protest. There are those who are saying, no, we're being lied to, so let's keep going and protesting. Do you guys feel that this huge voice that got to the point where it got the president to concede is now sort of working against the initial movement, where there was the aspect of there's no specific leader? So who do we dialogue with? There's not dialogue with, right? Yeah. So now, to tell people to calm down, do you feel like the same thing that got the protesters here is now sort of working against the movement? Maybe you can.
Yeah, I think I would partly disagree with you. People are not divided. People seem to internalizing whether to believe the president or not. The question is, it has been consistently said, reject the finance bill. But for us to understand this thing well, the question is, can we trust what the president say? You go back to his first speech, where the same people were called criminals. The same people were given, people who were killed were names called all sorts of names. Then the following day, hardly 24 hours later, he comes back and says, okay, guys, I am going to reject it, but what am I going to do? He talks of austerity measures. It is an old story that has always been said in all his statements. But what do we see? The budget's increasing for things like renovation, a house that probably it's alleged that it was built at 400 million being renovated at 600 million. And then
but yesterday in his statement, he said that those are some of the things that are going to be cut back on.
He has been talking to austerity measures since he has in the office. That is number one. Yeah. So when youth are looking at it, you might think it's a division, but people are just trying to think of how do we believe what he's saying? Will he tell us the truth this time around? Will this thing make sense? A typical example, we have ambassadors across the world. But the president has moved around the world, probably 70 countries, at the taxpayers' cost. So you ask yourself, what is the role of the ambassadors if they can't take some of these deals? That's number one. Number two, there was a promise of, okay, when I go out, you're going to get the jobs. Are we seeing those jobs? So we always see MPs and a lot of spending that goes into so unnecessary things. The truth is, one, every promise that has been made has never been fulfilled, or if it is fulfilled, it meets the expectation of whoever promised it, but not the public. So it makes it difficult for them to believe it. Number two is that when you are open, you need to mean what you say. You can't call one person, you can't call somebody a criminal, and then in less than 12 hours later, you say, okay, now I've understood you. So have you understood the criminal or what? So there's also anger in that. Number three, let's go back to what the Constitution says. We are required to have public participation for any decision, and especially on issues of finance. So the committee got almost 500 petitions to be considered. And these petitions largely were talking to issues of spending and introduction of new tax, which are otherwise punishing public. they didn't listen to any of them. We had MPs talking with a lot of authority, and they didn't even respect the public. Look at the people who are standing behind the president when he was giving. So that picture alone should tell us whether to believe the president or not, because some of them outrightly came to the public and told them it will pass either way. So if the president was honest, that his two press statements could have told the public that, yes, I mean it this time round, having seen the MPs who came out bragging and telling the public how it will go through, and also clapping in that forum,
Okay.
it makes the youth just say, okay, we don't believe you. Because
let me just interrupt you, and what you're seeing are live pictures from Nairobi CBD where Ibrahim Karanja is covering, and let's just listen into what is happening there just for further context.
All right.